Okay, you were with me while we picked out the fabrics for the simple paper piecing pattern that we're going to be doing. It's the third in our easy paper piecing club that we do every other month, and it's time for me to get the sample done. So that's why you were on this journey to pick the fun fabrics. And this is the book that we're doing. It has whoops, all these lovely, cute little animals in it, and lots of fun things to do. Okay, we have made a couple out of the book. I have started everybody with the simple owl because there's less pieces in it. Thought it would be less complicated. And we also did the bunny this month, or last month. Last month, sorry. Um, I use June Taylor's paper because I personally like it the best so far. Although today I'll be trying something different. Links to all products will be down in the bottom somewhere when I figure that out. As you can see here, you have to photocopy your pattern so you sew through it. I tried doing black and white on the owl, but it ended up wasting ink. It's better to print in color with this company. And as you can see, both of these just had two pieces sewing them together. And this next one will have three. This is the paper I have been using. It's one that I like. It's a little bit rougher in texture, but it's easy to see through and it's easy to rip. I have it on order. It's on back order, but it's something that I normally carry and it fits through your printer just fine. Today, though, we are going to use Simple Foundations from C&T Publishing. It is a translucent vellum. And I went ahead and took my goat and I photocopied him on the vellum and cut my sections because we will need a center section, a left, and a right section to make our pieces. So let's start with the center. Cute little face. So to do this, what we got to do is we got to start and do it in order, in numbers. Think of it even like cooking. You can't do step 3 until you've done step 1. And if you're doing stuff later and trying to create your own, you have to think about the layers because sometimes, well, you don't want the ear pieces to come up top. And yeah, it's a process, but it's pretty fun. Now, I could have totally done this in scraps, but for the class, I need to have, um, I needed to have a sample for everybody. Okay, with piece number 1, it's going to be a background. So I cut a little piece of my background, which is going to be green. And number 2 is horns. So I'm going to show you my little tips and tricks, if I can figure out how to describe them. So I like to use a little bit of glue or glue tape so that my first piece doesn't shift around. So I am taping this to the back side of the paper. So back side of fabric to back side of paper. When I'm looking at the right side is out. So I got really tired of not having my pieces fit on angles and I'd whip them forward and it'd be winging the wrong direction. So I'm going to fold back the paper with the add a quarter ruler and I'm going to do that right on the line for number 2, which is right here. And then the other side is a 1/4 inch seam. So I am going to trim off that strip of background that we don't need. With this still folded, looking at number 2, I want that to be the stripe. So I'm going to put right sides together because when you are done and you flip this, you want right sides to show. So, is this piece big enough to fit in spot 2? So I want to make sure it's well past this red line, well past this black line, and this one. So I think we're actually pretty good. So you can go ahead and trim that now. So after you sew it, everything is right where it needs to be. So I'm going to just put a clip to help me keep it all together. Fold the paper back. And now I'm going to sew on this line between 1 and 2. And you can go over a little bit. Here's fine. In the middle, we might need to pull a stitch out to fold something the next way, but at least you know it's secure for now. So I'm going to take this and sew it. Okay, so I've sewn right on that line, and I did go over, which is fine. But when we fold it the other way, you'll see what it does. So now you've sewed it, you've got pretty to pretty. We need to open it up. So let's press it. You typically press towards the new piece. 1 presses to 2, 2 will press to 3. So we're going to do lines again because the next piece is number 3, which is still part of the horn. Let's turn this around. You can tell I'm nervous because I'm new at this. I hope you guys are willing to bear with me while I figure it all out. Alright, so we've got that little bit of stitch right there. We're going to just kind of loosen that. Make sure that that stays. Whoops. Keep that folded. Just trying to go too fast. You're going to lock that edge, that ridge edge, up against your paper, and that is 1/4 of an inch. This is what is known as an add 1/4 ruler. I'm guessing they were designed for this type of work, but it's possible that they could have designed it for something else. All right, so we need another horn, and it needs to be so big. So I'm going to just whack off another little piece. Pretty simple. So while it's still folded, putting pretty to pretty, I'm going to look through this and see that this line extends past. I can see it wigging out here, so it's definitely past here, and it's down here, so that should be good. We should be able to do that. So I find if I flip the paper back now and move it, I have a harder time moving it. If I leave it with the paper folded back and grab my 2 pieces and move it and then flip it, I find it works better. Okay, now that that is sewn, now we have 2 lines sewn here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, don't worry about all this extra stuff. That will get trimmed down when you trim your section. So just leave it unless some of the stuff is in your way. What's our next piece? 4. So there's only, oh, I guess there's more. I was thinking there's only 4, yay, but no. All right, but we shift colors. So we're going to come down on our next line between the 2 and 3 and the 4 piece. And we're going to use the thin edge of our ruler to fold that back on itself. Make sure that's nice, and there you go. So for the base, I wanted to use this. So this. So I need to cut a piece big enough. So I am going to just slice and dice a little piece off. It's bigger than I need, which is fine. So the selvage is down here, so I'll need to adjust that. folding our paper back. We're going to set this on here. And you're going to look and see if that's far enough on each side. It's going to be a little tight. I wonder if I tuck it. See, now I can see through here. I don't know if you can see through here, but I can see my bottom fabric, and it lets me know how close to the edge I am. Well, I can see how close to the edge I am. It doesn't let me know. Okay, so that'll work. I'm going to trim it. Carry it like this to the machine. Flip my vellum back and sew on the line. Right, let's see how we did. So we have plenty of space here and just about exactly what we need down here. So by having it, looking at it when it's folded, I can see much better and decide whether my piece is going to be big enough to hold it. As we get to small things, it'll probably make more sense. Or if you did really big things that wigged out at an angle, then you're going to be all ticked that it didn't work and need to cut another piece. All right, where are we now? We are down to number 5. And as a trick for this little ruler, it's a smidge thick. So when I line it up against that line, I kind of go a hair away from it so that to compensate for that. Now that we've done that, we're going to trim that away. So I am doing dark for this section. So let's, and that's a tiny section. Okay. So here's where I would use a tip. We're having an issue, so I'm going to teach you as we go. My vellum, and this is my first time working with vellum, wants to curl after it gets pressed. And it's making it very difficult to work with. So I'm going to just hook it down to my fabric. And it didn't work. Okay, it did. Okay. We're going to tuck this piece right side to right side, because that's how we want it when it's done. That's a selvage edge, so I'll tuck that a little further away. We've got a plain old straight edge, it'll work fine. So let's line up our straight edges. And press it, or sew it. Doesn't look like much yet, does it? It's amazing how messy it looks, and then it just pops. It just comes together. I'll probably put some of this fast so that it won't take that long. I'm not even sure you're going to hear me talking right now, but this is how it goes. That's also dark, and the line is right here. I tried to match the whole thing. It's actually even smaller than I did, which means, well, we'll just cut another piece. Pretty to pretty. Definitely big enough. Okay, now we're going to do the bottom. It's one line across the bottom. So we're going to need a little bit longer piece. I'm going to cut me a piece. We're going to fold this back on the line. The stitches do come out of it nice. And then I'm going to trim it. I know it seems scary, but that is the way to do it. You sew and trim. So I think I'm even going to adjust while we're working on this, because you adjust as your materials shift. So being as the vellum wants to curl on me, I'm going to try the finger pressing and see if that works better, and then just hit it with an iron when I'm done. It's quicker for you anyway. So this is going to come down here. I'm going to finger press this. I like crisp seams though, so I'm gonna I don't have one of those little wood guys. Or I do and I don't know where it is. So that looks kind of blah, huh? Does it look like a goat face? Yeah, it doesn't to me either. All right, but it's a start. What we're gonna end up doing is I'm gonna run the edge of this lip on that red line so that I have 1/4 of an inch extra to sew to the next piece. And you're going through a couple layers here, so don't move it until you're sure it's all cut. Actually, that piece right there is big enough to do something else with. And do the same up here. And here. And down from here. That is the end of it. That is also big enough to do something with. Now it looks a little bit more like what we're trying to do. There's our center section. You're going to have little spots coming in here. All right, let's go to the next section.